I've often found myself yearning for a slower, more simple life. When I was younger, I was obsessed with the Little House series, Anne of Green Gables, really anything that transported me to a place where I could envision myself wearing a pinafore and puff sleeves.
Marilla, look at the puffs.
They're ridiculous. You'll have to turn sideways to get through the doors.
Prairie, homestead, and ethereal styles have woven themselves throughout recent fashion history, but none had quite the chokehold as did cottagecore during the recent pandemic. While I may be a little late to the trend, I'm fully ready to move into the countryside and have little chickens run across my kitchen. If you've ever wondered what cottagecore is or are just looking for a roadmap on how to get there with your personal style, I'll be sharing what it is, tips on what to buy, a color palette to follow, and key wardrobe pieces for every season. If you don't know what cottagecore is, it's a trend that took off during the late 2010s, really during the pandemic when everyone was stuck inside their houses and apartments, dreaming of a more carefree life. It romanticizes an idyllic, romantic lifestyle, closer to nature, living in harmony with it. It emphasizes the beauty of a slower, simpler, and primarily rural life, and draws from vintage and antique aesthetics. It often incorporates floral patterns, flouncy elements, and soft, natural hues. The color palette for cottagecore is primarily made up of soft, muted tones. Think of colors like sage green, rusty orange, mustard yellow, and a dusty pink or blue. These colors create a sense of peace and comfort, transporting you to your very own English cottage. When shopping for cottagecore clothing, you want to look for natural fibers like linen, wool, or cotton. A good rule of thumb is if a pioneer didn't own it, neither should you.
I'm sorry, John. The silk was the first real expense.
$58, while a lot is not, I suppose, too much for a dress, with all the notions that are needed to finish it these days.
It's not exactly even a dress yet. It's just the fabric.
And even though obviously it's all about aesthetics, comfort is just as important. Keep clothing soft and flowing. Remember that you have chickens to chase, a garden to groom, and a pie that needs prepping. Cottagecore is also very thrift friendly. As I had mentioned, many of the elements of cottagecore have popped up throughout the years of fashion. Incorporating vintage pieces and using what you own also just seems at the very essence of what this style is.
One thing is certain. We don't have money to buy presents. It's going to be special. We're going to have to make it that way ourselves.
What separates cottagecore from other similar aesthetics is its tendency towards frills, puffs, and romantic feminine details. The aesthetic is lighter and airier than academia, less practical than farmcore, and yet it is more grounded than ethereal or fairycore. It's more romantic than prairiecore and less gloomy than witchcore. And in essence, it was kind of the original core as we know it today. So with all that being said, here are my top 10 essential pieces to recreate this timeless aesthetic in your wardrobe. We're going to kick off this aesthetic with the summer capsule. And what would be more perfect than the cottagecore dress? You know the one I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, it's linked below in the blog post that I've created with every other item on this list. For number 2 on this list, we have the basket bag. One of the most practical items on this list. It's perfect for carrying your everyday essentials. These must be made of wicker or straw, and bonus if they're lined with a bit of lace or gingham. In my opinion, you can never have too many. I have quite the collection myself. You can start off with perhaps an open one for those fresh cut flowers or collecting eggs or your freshly baked loaf of bread. A more traditional picnic basket can hide an elegant bottle of rosé, and of course an everyday handbag option is a must. Another practical item for summer is a hair scarf. A simple square folded in half to stop all the flyaways as you work in your garden. It also doubles as a cute handkerchief to wipe away any sweat from the day. A straw hat also makes the perfect accessory for any picnicking that you do. And for number 5 on this list, a pair of woven flats. I could not for the life of me find an authentic cottagecore version of a sandal. I mean, fair enough, barefoot is the way to go, but if you must wear shoes while frolicking through the fields, a woven flat is a great breathable option. A pair of loose frilly shorts is number 6 on this list. Although cottagecore is all about those dresses, I really wanted to have a few other options on this list, and a pair of frilly shorts that kind of give off bloomer vibes are just the thing. Number 7 is a puff sleeve tee, perfect for matching those shorts. Before we close out the summer list, of course we need another cottagecore dress, and I think a tie strap midi dress is the perfect thing. It keeps you nice and cool in the summer and can be layered with the frilly puffy short sleeve tee as well. And in the summer, of course, when you're getting your hands dirty in the garden,
Ew! You ruined your dress in that muddy field. Ruin it! Oh, don't even think about Rachel's cabbages.
an apron is an absolute must, so that is number 9 on this list. And while it is super practical, it's also just a super cute accessory to throw on. And for number 10, what would your cottagecore summer be without a picnic blanket? Now, as we move into autumn, we can get a little more deeper with our colors and richer in our fabrics. We also need a good practical pair of shoes. So number 1 on the autumn list is a pair of Mary Janes. These shoes are a classic and versatile style that can be dressed up or down and paired with very lovely frilly socks to complete the look. Look for pairs with a low heel and in a neutral color for the most timeless look. A pinafore is the next item on this list, and essentially a pinafore is just a sleeveless dress that was originally used as kind of an apron to wear over your everyday dresses so that they wouldn't get wrecked. They traditionally have a square neckline and kind of a bib front. They're perfect for layering with blouses and skirts or dresses, or even worn over turtlenecks for a more cozy autumn feel. And hey, they might even help you cut down on laundry.
And where, may I ask, did they get these
Play clothes.
Oh, is that what you call them?
The third item on this list is an A-line skirt. Whether your preference is a mini, midi, or maxi, this silhouette is absolutely perfect for the cottagecore aesthetic. And to go with that A-line skirt, a collared blouse is the next item on this list. Complete with delicate details like lace or ruffles, these are great for layering under those short sleeve dresses in summer, and again can be worn with your pinafore or the skirt. And number 5 on this list, I think it just goes so well for autumn. I'm such a big fan of this item of clothing. It's a turtleneck. It just so effortlessly makes all of your outfits a little bit more cozy and can be taken with you into the winter months. For the next item on our list, I have lace-up Oxfords as another shoe option. These are also a bit of a more masculine option to the Mary Janes and kind of blend well with the academia aesthetic. Now, while trying to find items for this list, I had a really hard time with jackets, but I did manage to see that kind of like oversized hunter jacket seemed to work well with the cottagecore vibe and paired really well with a lot of the dresses, especially when paired with some Oxford shoes or boots. If it looks like something your country grandfather would have worn, it's probably a good fit.
Rabbit, I'm gonna put you in a pie.
Leave the jacket.
Like I did your dad.
For a more autumn accessory, I have a beret. Now, I was really surprised to see how frequently berets popped up in my hunt for the perfect cottagecore vibe, but honestly, it totally makes sense though, as a beret is just a very feminine aesthetic and is usually made of natural fibers like wool. Number 9 on this list are vintage trousers. Think high-waisted ones that look straight out of the 1940s. They definitely fit the vibe just right and even could be paired with a pair of suspenders if you want to fully commit to the look. They're a great option for cottagecore if you're not so into the dresses or the skirts. And to wrap up our autumn capsule, we have a messenger bag. It's usually about at this time of year that I would put away some of my basket bags, so I figured that we did need a practical sort of catch-all for anything that we might need while foraging, and I think a messenger bag really does the trick, as it can hold almost just as many things. Now, as we move into winter, we want to make sure that our clothing colors kind of reflect the seasons outside. So we're going to be moving away from those dusty roses and into more of the pines and mustard yellows. The first item on our winter list is knitwear. Chunky knit sweaters, whether cardigans or crew, are the perfect layering piece for your cottagecore wardrobe. Cable knit and Fair Isle patterns are particularly cottagecore, and bonus points if they have some embroidery. The next item on our list is a corset. If you particularly love corsets, a lighter one for spring and a darker one for winter is definitely must-have items. They're best worn fully over top of a dress or a blouse. Wool socks are number 4 on this list, and bonus points if you made them yourself. There's nothing more cottagecore than knitting, other than maybe baking bread. Number 4 is a wool skirt. I actually have this item on my list of winter essentials in general, as I believe everyone would do well to own one of these, especially if you suffer from extreme cold like I do here in Alberta. And number 5, another must-have regardless of your aesthetic in winter, is a long wool coat. But for the cottagecore vibe, you're gonna wanna go for something more like a cape or a cocoon or even an A-line silhouette. Something feminine and just a little bit vintage. Number 6 on this list is a knit hat and mittens. I couldn't include one without the other. They're just so practical. Number 7 on this list is a pair of lace-up boots, kind of like the Oxfords, but in boot form. A pair like this works really great with the wool skirt and other dresses, especially when paired over wool tights. Number 8 is a leather belt. If you need a transition piece between your skirt and shirt, this item works really great. A long sleeve wool dress is number 9 on this list, and it's the perfect thing to wear for the holiday season. Who needs an impractical slip dress when you can stay cozy and warm in this perfect cottagecore attire? Number 10 on this list is a wool scarf, which is the icing on the cottagecore cake. Both a cozy knit or felted style could work really well for this. Now that we're on to spring, we can bring out some of those lighter colors again. And I think for me, spring is where cottagecore really shines. Cropped cardigans are the first item on this list. Their cropped length are perfect for layering over dresses or skirts, especially if they land just at the smallest point of your waist. Be sure to look for details like buttons or embroidery. Number 2 on this list are overalls. They're just a really versatile and practical piece, and definitely essential for all of your gardening endeavors. I would suggest wearing these with feminine tops to balance out the look and to not lean too much in the way of farmcore. Prairie dresses like the one I'm wearing are one of the most iconic cottagecore pieces. These flowy A-line dresses are typically made of cotton or linen and have collar details or lace or ruffles, and are really perfect for any time of year depending on the sleeve length. A puff sleeve top is next on this list, a lighter version of the collared blouse to carry you through the spring season with longer sleeves than your summer puff sleeve top. Number 5 on this list are a pair of frilly socks. The delicate lace that lines the top is what sets the style and really makes it cottagecore. Number 6 on this list is kind of dependent on your personal taste. You can either invest in a pair of slippers or flats. Really just want to look for something a little less heavy-footed than the Mary Jane. A ballet flat would definitely work, but a pointed toe flat would be equally as nice. As long as they look organic in color, you're on the right track. And for the last pair of shoes on our list, I have a rubber boot. Picture this. You're wearing one of your gorgeous cottagecore dresses, a cozy cardigan, your rubber boots, and holding the cutest little spring chick. Now that to me is cottagecore. For number 8 on this list, I really felt like we needed another pair of pants, which is why I opted for a pair of linen pants. If you're not really into pants as much and you want to fully lean into the cottagecore, then definitely like kind of a spring skirt, one that just has more summery vibes than the autumn one that we had put earlier in the list. But lightweight linen trousers would definitely be an excellent choice. To close off our cottagecore capsule wardrobe, I definitely couldn't go without a nightgown and a bonnet. I just don't think that your cottagecore wardrobe would be complete without one. And I mean, would you even be watching this video if you've never imagined yourself wearing a little Victorian night dress to bed? Essentially, with all of these pieces, you should be able to embrace the slow, romantic cottagecore life year-round, even if that's just from your very modern apartment. I think this is another core aesthetic, just like the coastal grandmother style that I have previously dissected that really creates a really cohesive capsule. I was worried initially that I would struggle to capture the winter vibe of this aesthetic, but I feel like it came together really quite nicely. Of course, everything on this list can be found in the link down below. I've written a full blog post about all of these pieces, and thank you so much to Sondaflor, whose dress I'm wearing currently, and have sent me some of the other pieces that I've showcased throughout this video, as well as Little Women Atelier. Both of these brands feature beautiful, sustainable clothing items, perfect to make all of your cottagecore dreams come true. And Little Women Atelier actually gave me a 10% discount code for all of my followers to use, and that can be found in the description box below as well. Let me know what you think of this list and what aesthetic I should break down next. Is there anything that you would add or take away? How did you think I did? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.